Hi, this is Ken from the Freeplane community and the Word Bible Software community. This is a short demonstration and a little bit of a tutorial on how to use Freeplane to simplify using regular expressions. I'm going to move another mind map that I've been using as a script for this tutorial onto this monitor to just explain a little bit about regular expressions. So this technique that I'm going to show you is not foolproof. Depends on the amount of skill you have with Freeplane and with regular expressions, which I don't have a lot of experience with regular expressions, so I use a regular expression editor in conjunction with Freeplane. Now, I think you can, with regular expression, you need to invest a certain amount of time because there's a learning curve. You might have to invest in a little bit of a learning curve if you're not familiar with some of the semi-advanced features of Freeplane. This is basically a demonstration on how to break apart text that you might have in a document or from a web page and extract certain information from that. So you have to find a pattern for what you're looking for, and that's crucial in regular expressions, that pattern. But it's not an intense feature tutorial in Freeplane. I'll be going through some of the actual techniques pretty fast, and I won't stop to explain some of them. So feel free to ask questions or suggest videos in the comments below. And finally, I'm using Windows operating system, so if you're on something else, make the necessary adjustments. So regular expressions, again, they use patterns. That's kind of the basis for the whole idea of regular expressions. So you don't use specific characters, you use something far more abstract or generic. An example I think that most of us are familiar with are matching file names in a computer file management system. So here I have the with an asterisk. That asterisk is part of regular expressions. So the with an asterisk will find the word, therapy, theme, the cat, because they all begin with the, and here the word here is the word Bible software. It has those words joined together, but it would also find the two words separately. So it is very powerful, and partly because it's so flexible, because it's not limited to specific words. Many programs use regular expression, although many users don't. Microsoft Word, you can search using regular expressions. Bible software such as the Word or Logos, you can search there, and probably in other Bible software. File management, as we just showed in Windows Explorer. You can also use a couple programs that I really like, Search Everything and Agent Ransack. They're both free. They're both very powerful. The bad news about regular expression is that it's very cryptic and complex. So here's an example. I'm going to zoom in on that. And you can see that this looks like something that a computer would spit out, and only a computer would understand. But basically, it's for finding Bible references. For example, Psalm chapter 35, verse 11 through 14. That's what this is designed to find. But unless you are fluent in regular expression, that would be awfully hard to work with and troubleshoot and understand. So I'm going to zoom back out here. And here's where Freeplane comes to the rescue. I'm going to go back and get on that as well, so that we can see that if you have a whole document of text, and it could be several pages long, and you're trying to find, say, Bible references or something else like URLs or web addresses, you go through that, you can visually scan through that, or you could search for maybe one Bible reference at a time. But if you want to find all of the references, you need to break apart that, you need to find the pattern. So in Freeplane we can break apart the text in order to find the pattern. And again, in regular expression, that's crucial. So once we find the pattern, we can convert that to regular expression code, in my case using a regular expression editor, which we'll get into in a minute. Then once you've done that, you can assemble all the different parts into a string. Then you can use that string in Freeplane in searches or filters, and you can do a lot of different things. And once you, it is a certain amount of work to go through this, although as you see me explaining it, once you get used to doing it, it goes a lot faster than what you'll see me explaining. But you don't want to do it over and over again. So if you find some regular expression code that you want to use over and over again, you can use Freeplane to create a repository. So Freeplane, or regular expression, can be used in a lot of different applications. This video is going to cover one application that I use a lot, and that is pasting from the Word Bible software. And the Word is free, it's flexible, it's fantastic. I recommend it to anybody and everybody. So you copy text from there and change it to a format that you want to use in your notes. And I use Freeplane as my primary Bible study note program. So this tutorial is going to be how to find Bible references from text we import from the Word using regular expression. So the examples are all in another mind map that I'm going to switch to now. I'm going to put this back on my other monitor so I can continue using it as a script. So again, this is not designed to be a detailed, exhaustive tutorial about specific Freeplane features. It's just the kind of the overall strategy for simplifying a regular expression creation. So those features will be in other videos, or you can find them elsewhere. And again, feel free to make suggestions. So the first thing we need to do is go into the Word and find our, I'm going to maximize this so the screen's not quite so cluttered. This is a verse list based on Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 45, where Jesus taught that we should love our enemies. So these are scriptures that are kind of related around that idea. I'm going to press Control A to select them all, Control C to copy them, and go back to Freeplane. And here I'm going to paste them. And you can see that it did paste the information, but it's not in the format that I usually like to use in my notes. I usually like to see, I'm going to split this node and make that a child. So I usually like to see the reference and then the scripture text. One thing we need to watch out for is the variance in the type of information that you can be dealing with. So I'm going to put these two together. I'm going to turn on a filter. So you can see that this one has a book name, chapter, and one verse. This one has a book name, chapter, and several verses. So this is a range of verses. So I'm going to take off the filter. I'm going to move this up to the top, and I'm going to select the rest of them and delete them. So here's what we have to use as a basis of finding a pattern. So I'm going to copy this, go over to the root node and paste it. Then I'm going to join these together. So that is what I get when I bring in text from the Word. I'm going to keep this here just in case we need it to refer back to. I'm going to delete this one. So looking at this, we see that at the beginning of a line we have the verse reference. So we need to make sure that we start looking. I'm going to create a child for the line start. Then we see that we have a chapter, or a book number. I'm sorry, a book name. So we want to add that to the pattern, book, and it is in alphanumeric format. Then between the book and the chapter we have a space. So we'll put that in here. Then we have a chapter, and it is a number. So chapter and its number. Then we have a separator, a colon. So separator, and that's a colon. Then we have a verse number. Verse number. And we have another separator. Separator, and this is a dash. Whoop. That's the separator between the verses in a range, if you have a range. And then finally, if you have a range, there's the end verse. That is also a number. Now these two you're not always going to have. So I'm putting this is a question style that I have. So that's the pattern. Every verse is going to have that. If you have just one verse, it'll find this much of the pattern will find one verse. But if you have a range like this, then you have to also add those to take that into account. So that's the pattern. Now we have to convert our pattern, or the pieces of the kind of information we're looking for, into that cryptic code. And just to separate this a little bit, I'm going to make this each of these a bubble, and I'm going to separate that just a little bit. So we start with the beginning of a line. Now here we go back to our regular expression editor. In my case, I'm using Espresso. It's free, and the feature I'm going to use mostly is this builder. That's this section. It's kind of a template builder for you. So first thing I'm looking at is the start of a line. That's a special character, and it's right here. It's a caret character. So I'm going to come up here and Control C to copy it, come back to Freeplane and Control V to paste it. Now I'm looking for an alphanumeric character, which is in this tab. Alphanumerical. And then I want to have the number of characters from 1 to, I'm going to put 7, mostly ideal in just abbreviations that are generally 3 characters long, but occasionally there'll be more characters. So I'm going to put Control V to put that in there. Space I already know is backslash, which is the escape character, and then S for space. So we come down to chapter, that's a number, and I'm going to go to digit. Now we don't need 7 because the highest number like Psalm 150. That's 3 characters. So we put that in, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And I'm going to reuse this down here, which is a number, and down here, which is a number. But again, this is something that we may or may not need, so I need to put in a question mark. This is something that I've learned how to do in Espresso, and I'm going to zero out that first, change 1 to 0. A separator, child node, backslash, colon. This one here is something, again, that I had to kind of take some time in Espresso to learn. I'm just using a dash and 2 question marks. So now we have the pattern to match that kind of information, and we have the codes that describe the pattern. So I'm going to put in I'm going to put in a new parent here and call this pattern. And I'm going to create a sibling of that and call it string. Then I'm going to come up here, copy all of these, Control C. Down here I'm going to paste that. Now that's obviously not a string. We need to get all that together in one line. So I'm going to use, just to show you the functionality that I'm going to use, comes from this add-on. This is, I think it's pronounced Wicked Node. Anyway, I'll try to put the link to that, but some of the rest of the functionality depends on that. So I'm going to go to Edit, and I need to join, and this is part of that Wicked Node stuff. Join with spaces. So that looks more like the string we have, but it's got spaces throughout that. We can't use spaces. So I'm going to turn on a filter, and I've got up here, I've got the ancestors hidden. So I'm going to hide them again. And I'm going to go to Control Shift F, which is search and replace. I'll move this out of the way so we can see that node here. I'm going to search for a space, and I'm going to replace it with nothing. I'm going to search in this node. I don't want to mess with my root node. So I'll come down here and replace selected. And you can watch what happens here when I click that. It just sucks out those spaces. Escape to get out of the search and replace. So I took off the filter. This is the string that we're going to be working with to bring in text from the word and find our verse numbers. So I'm going to create a new file, Control N. I'm going to go back to the word. They're already selected. I'm going to copy, go back to my map, and paste. Again, this is not in the format I want, so I'm going to select all of these. And then I come back over here to Edit. Now I'm going to split. And there's lots of different options you can use to split. I'm going to split on after a regular expression. And I'm going to go back to my, I've got to get out of that, go back here to make sure I've copied this. Go back to my map, Edit, Split, Regular Expression. I paste in the regular expression, Enter, and now I'm going to resize these just to make it a little easier to see what's happening, and just scroll up and down. You can see that's found all my verse references, but the way that Wicked Node works, it creates a duplicate as a child. I don't need that. So I'm going to go through this column of children. I'm going to put on another filter. I'm going to turn off the ancestors. Now I'm going to come up here, and this is left over from a previous session I had. I'm going to paste in that code, but I don't need that trailing space at the end, so I'm going to press backspace. Now, If I do a search now, it's not going to find anything because it's going to be looking for the text, and there's no text in the document that looks like that. So I need to click that drop down and match regular expression. Now I come over here to select all matching nodes. Now you can see that it did select all of my verse references at that level. That's the level that I only want the Bible text. So now I'm going to press on my system is Shift Delete to just delete those nodes. Now it may look like I no longer have references, but they're hidden because I'm not showing ancestors. Now I'm back here and I can see, lo and behold, it did find all my verses. So I have a verse, reference, and the text. Verse, reference, and the text. So it worked. I'm going to close this now. Come back to my map. So now I know I have a regular expression string that I probably will want to use over and over again. So I'm going to insert a parent here, and I'm going to put Bible ref for reference. I'm going to insert another parent and put Bible study. And I'm going to fold this all down, all the children down. To get rid of this over here, we don't need that anymore. But as I mentioned before, regular expression is not just powerful in Freeplane. It's powerful in a lot of different applications, and not just for Bible study. It can be a lot of different reasons that you're using regular expression. For example, you might have a business where you handle a lot of data. You might have a blog. Might just be something in your household, a hobby or something. Or it can be just about anything. Like in a business, you might be searching through a massive document looking for email addresses. So you might want to have a regex string to find those. In a blog, you might be looking for URLs. It can be just about anything. So as you develop these strings, like the one we just got through doing here, you want to save those. So a repository is the place to do that, because I can add more. I'm just not looking for Bible references. I might be looking for an example might be Abraham, whose first name, or his original name, was Abram. So if I want to find that person in the Bible without having to do two separate searches, I can use regular expression. Now I typically, when I have a repository or a database like this, I go off to the left side and I'll create a node called references. And references might be links to programs, where I might put Expresso, and then I can make a link that will apply. When I click it, it'll take me right to Expresso. And I won't show you that in this video, maybe in a later one. Or I can make links to www. Google. I can do a Google search and make a link to it. Or I could go to regex.org, assuming there is such a thing, and make a link to that on the web. So now I have one place, and the more I use this, the more valuable it becomes, the more useful it becomes. So again, finding patterns is fundamental to using regular expression, and Freeplane can make it easier and clearer as just how to break apart those patterns and how to convert those patterns to code and how to create ultimately this cryptic string. So again, this is not foolproof. You probably have to come back in and tweak your codes. But in future videos, I will try to cover some of the things that saw here with filters, search and replace, splitting nodes, joining nodes, styles, resizing nodes. I've already done a video on that one. And also in the Word, I plan to do a series of videos on searching in the Word, including the basics of searching, but also regular expression in the Word. That's a little bit more of an advanced topic. So I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching.